All right, welcome back. I totally didn't have this page in the PDF, so I stopped that video early. I might stop at a weird time because my editing skills are not good. But let's pick up financial lesson 1 where we left off. So we had just compared simple interest and compound interest graphically, but there's actually a formula for compound interest that we are going to use. So hopefully you remember that simple interest was I is equal to PRT. And that one told us the amount of interest we would make if we had an initial investment or a principal, an interest rate, and the amount of time. Now we are looking at this formula down here. A is equal to P multiplied by 1 plus I, all to the power of N. So A actually, instead of representing the amount of interest made, it represents the final amount. So it actually represents the principal plus the interest. P represents the principal or the initial investment, which we'd already talked about. I represents the interest rate, and that's as a decimal. Whoa, spelling. As a decimal. And N represents the compounding periods or the number of years. So the reason that I don't like that it says number of years is because if it's compounded yearly, then it is number of years. But if it's compounded monthly, it's not going to be number of years. But we'll talk more about that later in the unit. So let's use this formula for a class example number 2. So it says 4,000 is invested in a 3-year GIC compounded yearly at a rate of 3.5% per annum or per year. And now we want to identify the values for P, I, and N. So P is our initial investment. So that's $4,000. I is our interest rate, which is 3.5%, but we want it as a decimal. And so 3.5%, if we want to switch that to a decimal, we're going to move it the decimal place 2 times to the left, and we have 0.035. If we do that, 0.035, and the N is the number of compounding periods. So we're compounded yearly for 3 years. So our N is 3. Now we can do that that calculation. So A is equal to just P multiplied by 1 plus I to the power of N. So we know that A is equal to, well, our P is 4,000, 1 plus our interest rate, which is 0.035, all to the power of 3. Well, you can punch that into your calculator, and you will get $4,434.87. So you have to be careful because when we're looking at simple interest, we're calculating just the interest made. But when we're calculating compound interest, what we're looking at is the total amount at the end of our investment. So this is actually made up of 2 things: our initial investment of $4,000 and our interest, which was $434.87. So when we add those together, we get our total amount. So the formula just calculates for that. And you got to be careful moving forward, knowing that you're calculating for the total amount, not just the interest. It's an easy mistake to make, and that's why I'm talking about it. So next question. Gizia has invested $8,000 in a 5-year bond compounded annually, which means every year, at a rate of 3.2% per year. Determine the interest earned at the end of the 5-year period. So we're actually not calculating the total amount, we're calculating interest earned. So we're looking for I. And sometimes it's nice to make a little list of everything you know. We know that our principal is 8,000. It's compounded yearly for 5 years, so our N is 5. Our interest rate is 3.2%, so 0.032. And we don't know the A either. So we can calculate A. We have the compound interest formula. It's compounded. So it's compound interest, not simple interest. And the formula is P1 plus I to the power of N. So now we can fill that in. $8,000, 1 plus our interest rate, 0.032 to the power of N, which is 5. So punch all that in, and we get a total value of $9,364.58. That's our total amount, not our interest, right? We're still looking for interest. So what we want to do now is say, well, if we initially invested 8,000, now we have 9,364.58. To get our interest, we could just say our total amount subtract our principal or our initial investment. So we have 9,364.58 subtract our initial investment of 8,000, and that gives us an interest of 1,364.58. So that's the interest that we made on that investment, or that Gizia made, sorry. Okay, that is going to be it for our compound and simple interest notes. I was going to split this between that, like what we just did now, and then the next little section, but because I already split the video, I'm just going to throw it right into this one. So what we're going to do is, I'm out of order here. I'm going to go to the next page. I'm actually going to skip the next page. I know it's going to be different on yours, but that's okay. And I'm going to go to 2 pages from now. So there's one that says, here we go, 323, using TVM to solve annual compound interest problems. So TVM is a type of calculator that we use. It's a time value money calculator, I think it's what it's called. I might be wrong on that one, but it's used to calculate financial problems. So you do need to know how to do simple interest formulas and calculate. You do need to know how to use the compound interest formula, but we are going to use TVM solvers as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about that. You can get an app if you want on your phone. I think it's Easy Financial Calculator is a good one. Calculator. I found one on the internet. I just typed in financial calculator, or you could type in TVM solver, and then I'll show you what I get. Something like this. Financial calculators. I clicked on TVM calculator. It brings me here, which is awesome. It's got everything we want here. Or you could click this advanced version button, which is going to help you, especially later in the unit when we start compounding not annually. So I always use this one. It just makes life a little bit easier. And it's very similar, but it looks like very much like the same. So we have certain things here: present value, payments, future value, annual rate, periods, and compounding. And your book has something very similar to this. So you can see, if you're looking at page 323, N represents the total number of payment periods. So that would be your periods. And then I is interest rate, or annual rate. It's all transferable. PV represents present value, and PMT represents the payment amount. So maybe I can just say like PMT, this PMT, PV, FV, this is I percentage, this is N, and then actually this is your, down here, that little drop menu is your PY and CY. And so we just have to learn how to use this calculator, and we're going to get a lot of practice. So It's good. This is a little bit old, this book, so it's showing you how to do it on, I'm not even sure, on an old TI-84 calculator or something. There's a couple things that we do want to remember. And oh yeah, TI-84, there we go. So a couple of key things you should highlight here. Cash received, so cash coming to you or entering your pocket, is positive value. So if you borrow $500 from the bank, that is positive $500. Cash paid is negative value. So if you are paying any money or you're investing money to the bank, that's money out of your pocket going to the bank. That's a negative value. So if we were saying, I'm going to invest $500, it would be negative 500 if you're entering there. And then it says here, PY, which is your, up here, number of payments per year. The number of payments made to the investment or loan, it represents the number of payments made to the investment or loan. If no additional payments are made to the investment or loan, then enter this value so that it's equal to the CY value. So it says here, for questions with no payments, make PY the same as CY. For some reason, the calculator won't work if you put 0 in there, even though you're making no payments. So for example, if you invest $500 and that's it, you're not going to invest anymore, you still have to have a number in for PY. So you would just make it equal to the compounding periods, the CY. And we're going to get a lot of practice on this, so that's good. But that's just a little intro. I think it'll be easier once you play around with it a little bit. So let's look at the rule of 72. And then on this page, we will use our TVM solver. So first of all, what is the rule of 72? I don't know if anyone's ever heard this before, but it determines approximately the time taken for you to double the value of your investment. So we can use the rule of 72. It's like a quick estimation rule, but it